Okay, so this is a P7 guide. The strategy we'll be using utilizes ranged. So mage ranged hybrid gear has been brought to this encounter. What you'll need is Elite Dracolich, so the full set, an SGB EOF, and a Dark Bow EOF, along with Wen arrows and Death Spore arrows. Let's get started here. No special setup when phasing into P7. All you need to do is survive, so I use one ability. Here I use Darkness, and I use Devotion. And I kill off the demon. So I'm using Darkness because it can help you dodge the small bombs. So if you rob the big bomb and you don't kill it, uh, and you need like a few extra ticks to have an ability go through or something, the Darkness can actually be pretty clutch. So you'll see here, I go to the second rune first. My Disruption Shield is up so that if I overkill it, I don't die. I lower it to 3.9k here. So I'm going to lower it to one of two values, the second rune, either 3.9k or 2.5k. And those are the minimum hits of Corruption Shot or Frag Shot, respectively. And the reason you want to do this is because you want to guarantee that you kill the rune. If you, say, barely don't kill the rune and then you do your whole setup again, the rune will be extremely low HP and die almost immediately, and you don't want that. Because you'll see here when I'll use a damage over time on the rune. In this case, it'll be Corruption Shot because the rune is at 3.9k, and then I'll start rapid firing on Zamorak. I need to channel the full rapid fire to get the Dracolith Infusion buff, which increases your critical strike chance by 40%. But let's just watch up until that point. So you'll see I go here, I build my Wen arrow stacks. I'm going to build to 15. Now each stack increases your damage by 3% on threshold and ultimate abilities, and I'll be utilizing that in the P7 rotation here. Oh, I'll wait a bit. So another thing to note, I am trying to keep my HP between 4k and 5k at the start here. And that is because I want to have my HP be below 60%. When I do this to get the damage bonus from the pad 6. You see I have 4 stacks of pad 6 and it's 6% bonus damage per stack, which means I'm getting 24% bonus damage from keeping my HP in the less than 60% range. But it also needs to be high enough that I can survive the melee attack from Zamorak. And you'll see I have Disruption Shield, I'll pray melee, and I will also VIP pot the melee attack, because in this order, you can see I've done pad 4 last. So I'm getting 42% damage pushed through shielding on this phase, which is extremely brutal. You'll see I take somewhere between 4 and 5k damage from the melee hit, even through Disruption Shield and melee prayer. So okay, after I get my 15 win stacks, I got 5 Death Spore stacks, and then I used one more ability with Wen arrows right there. So that's just to reset the timer to 30 seconds to make sure that I don't lose the stacks before I complete my setup here. And it's really useful in this case because you see I have run out of Adrenaline Potions. Most kills I get to P7, I've used all of my Adrenaline Flask, and so I need to do the setup without the Adrenaline Pot. If I had one, it wouldn't be as big of a deal because I would get the setup more quickly. But sometimes it can take a while to get your death spores. So if you get your Wen stacks, then you get your death spores, and you sort of take your time, your Wen stacks can potentially run out, and you don't want that. So just be mindful. Okay, so I DS with the death spores, then I incendiary shot. I incendiary shot after the death swiftness because I want it to last as long as possible. I want the buff to last as long as possible. Into the DS. You can do the incendiary shot before. That's fine. If you're in a group, it's going to speed up your setup to do it before. So that's another consideration, right? And you may, in a group, also want to save an APOT dose to help speed up the setup. In a solo, it doesn't matter, as long as you get all of the appropriate buffs up at the right time. So we're going to aim to get the Death Swiftness, Critical Strike, damage bonus, or damage refund, Critical Strike, Adrenaline refund on crit from the Incendiary Shot, a Bulg Spec, and a Natural Instinct all up at the same time. and then we're going to kill off the rune, do our rapid fire, and do our rotation. So here you go. You see I bulk spec, Gricko, a few more abilities. Okay, and here you'll see I use Natural Instinct. Okay, so one thing. I have 2 bow stacks right now, and I'm going to want to be on 3. 2 is fine, because the rotation we're going to do after the rapid fire is Dark Bow, SGB, Dark Bow. And the goal is we want the Dark Bows to be triggering the perfect equilibrium, because it's the most damage out of the things that we're using, right? So 2 stacks is okay. You can do Dark Bow, SGB, Dark Bow, and then usually you can Dark Bow again. I like to get it to 3 stacks so that when you go Dark Bow, SGB, Dark Bow, you trigger the perfect equilibrium twice with the Dark Bows. And oftentimes this will kill it in just those 3 abilities. If you start on 2 stacks, oftentimes you'll need 1 more ability after the second Dark Bow. Let's watch here. So I used something to get myself up to 3 stacks. I used a corruption shot on the rune, and then I started rapid firing zamorak. Okay, so right at the end of the rapid fire there, I switched to Wen arrows. I was on Death Spore arrows that whole time since I did the Death Swiftness. Right, so right at the end of the rapid fire, switch to Wen arrows and start consuming the buff here. So it'll last 9 seconds, and it's increasing our damage of ultimates, special attacks, and threshold abilities by 45%, which is massive, right? And you can see we also have the Dracolich infusion from our armor active at the same time here too. And we watched that was a Dark Bow, SGB, and Dark Bow again, and Dark Bow again. And it's gone. So you can see we probably had time for 1 or 2 more abilities here, but that was going to be it. So basically, burst down the boss before it kills you with that simple rotation. The rotation itself is simple. The setup is not, right? So to get it all perfect can take some practice. Yeah, good luck.